In second place is a story that was done by Eunice Omollo. There were, I used six criteria to assess the stories. One of them was about factuality, so that the story, ensuring that the story is factual, whatever is presented is factual. There was the news value or relevance of the story. Then there was clarity, that that story, when someone reads it, they are clearly able to understand what you're explaining, the message you wanted to pass across. The other aspect of it was creativity, how creatively that story was done to capture the interest of the target audience and sustain it through. And then there was the credibility of the sources, third-placed story. And this is the story, Sick and Bankrupt, the silent crisis among youth struggling with chronic illnesses. So we know chronic illness, and the story was done by Pauline Ogada. In first place was a story done by Lilis Njeru, which was actually a podcast, and it touched on how art is being used to help young children as they are going through treatment for cancer. So so in first place was Lilis Njeru.
I wanted to explore how will I tell science-backed story and a health-backed story together in a way that I'm not the one who is writing it, but my news source is telling the story. So the main character is the husband to this wife who died. So I wanted the person to tell the story, you know. Even as I was talking to my editor at KMB Media, I told him, this time just let me flow, let it flow. Let us just let the characters tell their own story. And that is how I chose the idea of using a first person narration, the person to tell his story, the frustration he went through. And I also wanted to paint the picture of the dire situation that we have. We are talking about universal health coverage, but we are not incorporating what we already have, the policies we already have. We are not incorporating the studies that have been done so that we can save these mothers who are dying through postpartum hemorrhage. So it's a story that has been told over and over again, but I wanted to tell it in a very unique way, a way that is going to touch, trigger emotions. I can say that I achieved the purpose. I reached the doctors, I reached policymakers, people have reached out to me. There are organizations who are working to help mothers. They are campaigning using my story as well. So I can say the choice of style to make it raw, to make it emotional, was really, it was really impactful. And I think for me, that was the most impactful story I've ever done.
So this project was about trying to improve science communication in Kenya and science communication in the region as a whole. So unlike other countries like America and the UK, the science communication is quite advanced. In fact, they have dedicated media outlets just for science communication. We don't see that. We have mainstream, they call them legacy media, that also try to talk about science communication or feature science and research. In Kenya, we have the mainstream media trying to do that. But really, how do we entrench science communication? We want the scientists to embrace science communication. We want the journalists to do good science communication, improve the rigor, the accuracy, the way they tell their stories. So it was important to bring these two people together.